With all the banged up players in the Eastern Conference and maybe, some movement there around the East, seems like there's a pathway for a lot of different teams to represent the Eastern Conference next year. Where do the Philadelphia 76ers fit into the plans of the entire Eastern Conference picture? Welcome to the PHLY Sixers Podcast on a Thursday, the day before July 4th. And we get to hang out with you and guide you into all of your barbecues and your beaches and your feet up and all of that cool stuff right here on the PHLY Sixers Podcast, presented by Rothman Orthopedics. Make sure you visit Rothman Orthopedics and check out whatever you need to do, any banged up knees and any, you sliding this weekend on the slide with the kids and you get, a little tweak on the elbow or sprained ankle, RothmanOrtho.com/PHLY to make that appointment.
Old man injuries.
Exactly. Tell them I sent you. Rich Hoffman in the place. I'm Devon Givens, president of basketball operations, Bree. She's with us. All of you in the chat, we thank you as always. And we have Derek and Kyle at the practice facility in Camden for the final Sixers practice before they head to Utah for the Salt Lake City Summer League. 3 games beginning on Saturday, starting with Ace Bailey and Walter Clayton Jr. with the Utah Jazz. After those 3 games, they head to Summer League in Las Vegas. So they have to get some work in right now, and the guys are there. Trendon Watford, he spoke today to the media. We'll see some of the quotes from him. Kyle Neubeck already has a story up at allphly.com on some of the things that the latest Sixer, Trendon Watford, what are some of the things that he had to say. If you have not read it yet and you are unable to do so because you are not a diehard member, go sign up right now. You have today and tomorrow to do so at our intro offer at $36. So make your move, everybody. Make your move. $36 intro offer. You get access to all the words there at allphly.com, including the newsletter daily from the man to my right, Rich Hoffman. You also get the Flyers, Sixers, Eagles conversation there. You get a free t-shirt, access to the Discord, early access as well to all of the events that we have here at the All PHLY Network. So make sure you go sign up right now. $36 intro offer to read the story like Kyle has there on Trendon Watford, the newest Philadelphia 76ers. Rich, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I have a question for you off the top because I saw some of our chatters bring this up. What do you make of free agency now? This was, I thought the 2 things that were exciting were the Michael Porter Jr. trade, because that's, that's maybe a final piece on a championship contender, Cam Johnson going back to Denver, and Denver given a pretty high value pick, albeit one very far in the future. That was exciting. And the one really exciting move of the last few days was the fact that Milwaukee signs Miles Turner.
Yeah.
And they had to stretch Dame Lillard, which nobody does, to do that. The probably minute in between, wait a minute, they're signing Miles Turner to how much money? They don't have that money, right? I follow the Sixers, and I know because of the whole Quentin Grimes song and dance that's going on.
Yeah.
They don't have the cap space to have that money. I would have known if Milwaukee had the cap space, and then you get the tweet that, oh, yeah, they're stretching Dame Lillard. He's going to be on their books for 5 years. So those were pretty exciting moves. But I'm curious, man, what do you make of this? Like, free agency used to be more fun than this around the league. There were always some wild deals that went around. I saw in the chat somebody mentioned the Allen Crabbe deal. I believe that was the 2016 summer, and that was the I believe that was the Kevin Durant summer where the cap spiked and there was no smoothing, and there were just wild deals being handed out all over the place. Evan Turner, Joakim Noah, Mozgov, I believe got a bag.
$76 million from the Lakers. Luol Deng got his last
got a big
contract
one
with the Lakers too. Yeah.
So that's on one side of the craziness. But here, there's just like not a lot of craziness going on. And I think there has to be a happy medium where, I'm a little worried, not worried, but I hope the NBA can reset around these aprons. And maybe this is an offseason where, they're just getting used to the new rules. They now have a de facto hard cap. It's going to take a few years for, everybody to get set and for this movement. But it's been, I think, not only for the Sixers, which is understandable, right? They spent a ton of money last year to get Paul George. They were going to become a lot more expensive with the Maxey extension kicking in this year. I'm not even talking about this from a Sixers perspective. It's just been kind of quiet on the whole league front, I would say.
Yeah, it has been. And we did our show, of course, the 2-hour free agency frenzy special on Monday at 5 o'clock. And we were expecting at least some things to start to happen as we typically get at that 1 minute past the start time of whenever. In the past, it used to be midnight, 12:01. Well, lately, it's been, of course, the 6 o'clock to the change, 6:01.
I think Sham's not having his chief rival. He's been able to, keep them in the drafts and send some of those deals out a little bit later. I think it's the combination of that and also the fact that there aren't as many deals.
There aren't as many deals, man. So yeah, it was uneventful for the first hour. And then as soon as we got done the show at 7 o'clock, we got done around 7:01, 7:02, and then boom, Cam Johnson happens. We had a couple of little things happen at the end of the show, but the big ones, to your point, Cam Johnson happens. You have Bruce Brown going back to Denver and that one as well. Then you get a few other deals that start to drop, and you're saying, man, where was all of this normally at 6:01? And it just wasn't. So yeah, it was an uneventful start to it. But since then, Rich, it has gotten so much better for the things that happened. To your point, the stretching of Damian Lillard.
That was a legitimate one.
Miles Turner.
Wow.
Miles Turner was a crazy one that, again, I didn't see that coming. I thought he was staying in Indiana.
Nobody saw it coming.
Yeah, I thought he was staying in Indiana. And then later you get the DeAndre Ayton piece of it where we knew and we said it on draft night that something has to give in Portland. Trade, but not just flat out a buyout, right? So all of these things that happened. So it was uneventful in the beginning, but then it started to pick up a little bit. But so we know that the theater is still always there because there's always going to be movement. There's always interest in that movement. We're always going to have our eyes peeled. We're going to be on our phones. We're going to be on our laptops. Whatever we may be doing at that moment, we know that is NBA free agency time. And as it started to pick up and have a little bit more steam, it worked out. And you know it's still good, though, when only one team has the ability to sign free agents.
That's part of it.
That doesn't do anything because they couldn't except for making that trade, but you still get some other things that were unexpected, like even though we had to wait till the next day, or later on that night, Trendon Watford was not on our list. None of us. We weren't talking about Trendon Watford as a possible pickup, even on a minimum deal over 2 years for the Sixers as a possibility. We were looking at so many other players with around that size, right? 6'8", 6'9", 6'10" at that power forward position, but no one like him with the type of skill set that we paid attention to. So that's what makes free agency so fun. While we think we have certain things pegged out, like we were on the Paul George piece of it last summer, we looked at some of the other things that could potentially happen last summer, you always have those things that shock you. And that's what always made free agency was so fun.
Last summer, I think the Sixers have not, obviously these last couple of years have not gone great for them, but last summer was the right summer to be more of a free agent type of team because there were big deals. Sixers had cap space. This year, it was good that we got our excitement from the draft and, had the full month to talk about that because it's, there's been a couple of shockers, but it hasn't been as exciting of a period. And look, they're going to do the whole Quentin Grimes, there's the meme of like the stick, like, come on, do something.
Daryl Morey do something.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm sure Quentin Grimes will be a Sixer one way or another next year. It just depends how long this thing drags out. So yeah, it's been I felt as an NBA fan, it's been a little bit underwhelming.
It is
of a free agency period, and that's okay. That's okay. Maybe it's just a 1 year thing. More teams are going to have cap space next year.
More players on the market next year.
I think it's supposed to be a little bit of a better class. Right?
Yeah.
So hopefully that's better because as much as I feel like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth here because as much as I want the NBA to more embrace the games and make them a big event, I've liked what I've heard about some of the stuff that Amazon and NBC are going to do next year where they're going to go old school. They're going to do small things. And I know they did this in the finals as well. They're going to show the pregame introductions. They're going to try and make the games seem like bigger events. I think that is important because this is an entertainment product and you need to sell the games. But We also love the transaction game. And, I wish it was a little bit better. But, the Sixers weren't going to be part of an exciting transaction period here.
That's okay.
Bummer. And that's okay. No. We knew that.
Because we did it last summer.
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. I got to say, it does... It bothers me a little bit, man. And this is kind of more, this is not our commenters for the most part. They're our diehards. It's more the general Philly sports fan, maybe the general talk radio host, where it's like, I can't believe Daryl Morey isn't doing anything. And it's like, man, you guys got to learn ball. Like you're limited because of what you did last offseason. And in future years, they'll have more flexibility. And that's how this works. This isn't like, oh, we can rip up the team every year. That's not the way this league works with the contract structures and everything. And I know everybody in the chat kind of knows that. So that's not really a shot at them. That's just been annoying where it's like, I can't believe they're running back the team from last year. It's like, what do you mean? Have you looked at the contracts on their books?
Right. And the thing is, with last offseason, even when we were discussing it, you were saying, all right, cool, you get the 1-year deal for Kyle Lowry. All right, that's the 1-year deal. But so much was made where Kyle and Derek and yourself even talked about, wait a minute, Andre Drummond's getting 2 years guaranteed. Oof. Or Kelly Oubre, 2 years. All right, we're cool with that one, but still, it's a player option in year 2. Eric Gordon, same thing. And that's where we discussed the fact that you had the smaller guards, the veteran guards, the older guards, instead of having some young, more versatile people to put in there. And Daryl Morey talked about that even at the end of the season, reaching into the offseason of where he made the mistake of not having enough players 25 and under and more athletic with some height to hold things over until the guys were able to come back, because we all believed that Tyrese Maxey would have been able to come back and play towards the end of the season if they were still in the mix. Maybe even Paul George with the pinky that was injured, maybe he could have come back and played in the postseason had they had more, healthier bodies that they could throw out there. Instead, they had the veteran players that they knew that they simply just weren't going to be enough to get them over the hump in the Eastern Conference. So that's where, while last offseason was fun and we discussed it the way that we did, it also goes back and points to the conversations that we were having. And of course, I'll specifically point to what Colin, Derek, and Rich were saying, because I didn't say it as much, was the fact that you did give those veterans, and while they're veterans, they have good resumes and all, you gave them 2 years guaranteed for all of those players. So to your point again of the casual fan saying, why is Daryl Morey poking the stick? Why aren't you doing anything while everybody else is making moves? Well, it's partially because of what you did last summer, and you were kind of banking on those player options for those 3. And then when you did make a move during the regular season, you have a player who's going to be a restricted free agent who elevated his market. Yeah. And now he's trying to figure out where he fits into the overall spectrum of the offseason with the money that is being thrown out there, which is not a lot, but he wants a lot. And that's where, again, to the casual part of it, that's where that comes into play from last season, the midseason trade, to where we are right now.
And this is not even a defense of Daryl Morey. Like you put out, like, those player options stink.
They did, but you also thought you were going to have a better season, and you also didn't expect to be picking 3rd overall in the NBA draft.
But he got held accountable for those. Because they all picked him up.
He did.
And
he pointed the finger at himself and all, but
I thought it was pretty interesting. I didn't think it was interesting that so Drummond wasn't interesting. He was going to pick up that option. Yeah. There's no way he was going to get $5 million on the open market. That wasn't interesting. The Eric Gordon one, that was interesting, and that, like, the mechanics of it, because that's just a total cap nerd thing where the cap hit for the minimum contract is only like 2.3 million, something like that. But
versus the 3,
but he actually gets paid more money.
Exactly.
But that's fine, you know. And the Sixers are happy to say, go
Thank
ahead.
you, Eric, by the way.
Go ahead, take a couple more,
right.
$100,000. It's fine. Because you're going to count the same on the cap. It's not going to actually affect us. So that part was kind of interesting. The one that I thought was the most interesting, though, was Oubre, in that he looked at the $8 million, and to the point we were talking about earlier, where this is just a very restrictive market and there's not a lot out there for you, he and his agent looked at that and said, I don't think we can do better than that. And, I think, like, Kelly Oubre has definitely rehabbed his value over the past few years here, where he was basically a minimum contract player when he showed up. Now, again, I've had my arguments with some people about, I love Kelly as a player, but, he does have some real limitations to his game. But I think getting Kelly Oubre on that contract is like, that's fine. Like even with his limitations, him on an $8 million contract, that's fine. Like that's not bad or anything like that. And they wouldn't have been able really to replace him anyway. So it's a good thing that he did opt in. I think it just went to show though that the market was it just really wasn't there. If it was a frothy free agent market, I think Kelly Oubre is opting out of that, getting additional years because like, look, he's an athletic wing who can, play a position that there's scarcity around the NBA. So I thought that was the most interesting. But yeah, the player options did come back to bite Daryl Morey, especially with
Drummond.
With Drummond, that's the big one. Eric Gordon, whatever. Yeah. I will say I gotta hope.
Good vet though.
He's a good vet. The big thing I'm worried about, he cannot be playing.
Not over any of those
guys. You have way too many guys. And it's tough too because Eric Gordon, we were singing his praises in January. Like I actually think he can, if your team is right and Embiid is playing well, all right, he serves a purpose. Sure. Like having one guy on the floor that stands like 30 feet from the hoop and can shoot like 39 to 40% on those catch and shoot shots, that makes a big difference. So the big thing is you just can't play him over those guys because you got 4 guards who are going to need a ton of minutes already, for younger guards that are going to need a ton of minutes. So that's the big thing with Eric Gordon. And you got to hope, too, it's the, when the Sixers brought in Luke and Mbah-a-Moute, now it's a little bit different because Joel was different. Yeah. Like he had a long-standing relationship with Luke, but Sam Hinkie made the smart move to bring him on board. He's the guy who basically, I remember at the time, I was, I think, on the beat too. We didn't actually know the full story of Joel Embiid. So when Luke got brought over, I don't think that was reported, their long-standing relationship. Yep. And kind of that was, a way to have a mentor, at least be there for a year with the guy that you're going to give the franchise keys to at some point. Hopefully Eric Gordon is like a junior version of that. I don't know the exact story. I think him and VJ have gotten along. They played on the Bahamas national team as well. So hopefully there is a vet mentorship element to that because that's really the only way you can sell it. That said, Eric Gordon, if he wanted to come back to the Sixers, he had that option. He was going to come back to the Sixers.
2 questions before we take a quick pause. One, going back to Oubre, I'm going to ask you this. If I asked you right now, since you said, good player, had a decent season, not a lot of athletic wings like him in the league that are available at least. We know that's a very important position. What were his averages last year in the games that he played? I have it. I'm asking you to guess. Just
his points?
60 games played last year. What were his averages? So, just points and rebounds.
I don't know the points and rebounds. The one that bothers me is the 29% from 3-point range. I know that one.
Yep.
What'd he give you? Points and rebounds, I'm going to say 14 and 6.
All right, so 15 and 6.
Okay.
29%, as you said. He's a career 32
That's
and a half.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
That's close.
He's a career 32 and a half 3-point percent shooter. So, I mean, if he has a 34, 35, maybe even gets to 36, which is the league average, you're just jumping for joy at that one. But to your point, 60 games and he gives you that number, and you would expect, again, he would have probably played 70-plus games if the games meant something at the end of the year. He was the one that was always available for you. He was healthy and available. So my question to you is, next summer, great move by them to pick up the player option, get that $8 million. Richie's going to be 30 next summer. He doesn't turn 30 until December. So he's going to hit that market. If they're a playoff team again, and he is able to somewhere around those numbers still play that good defense, if it's not here, somebody's going to give him a decent contract.
And I think the big thing for him, and this is, I think he and Tyrese Maxey in kind of different roles and different level of player, I don't think it was a mistake that the best that they have played over the past 2 years was when Joel Embiid was cooking people at the beginning of the 23-24 season. I thought Tyrese just played that 2-man game beautifully with Joel, and Kelly was great on the second side, attacking closeouts, cutting, getting buckets. So if you get the big guy back and at least rolling at a decent level, I think that could really help Kelly's market in the future. But you need that to happen. Real quick before we go to break, because I don't think we've talked since then. WNBA team.
I was going to ask you that later.
You got a name?
No.
I don't have a name either.
I don't have a name either. And all the ones that I've seen so far, we've talked about them before, so none of them really do anything for me because we've been trying to get the WNBA here ourselves, just talk it, bring it to life. So we've all thrown the names out there. I do not have a name as of right now, and I will think on it, but I don't have one right now. No. None of them really do anything for me.
So I've been reading up on some of the current names because they have a ton of expansion going on right now. So there are a ton of markets that are trying to figure out what the names are going to be. So I'm going to give you one good one and one bad one for recent. So the Golden State team, which I think is actually drawing really well and seems like a pretty big success so far. I like their name, the Valkyries.
The Valkyries.
That's weird.
That's the coolest one, honestly. That's
Love
like the
that.
best. That's the best one.
Bree's loving it. Yeah. I like. Look,
and they played it a little bit better too.
They got a cool color scheme too,
Yeah,
like the black and purple as well.
Right. Yeah.
I enjoy that. So that seems to be a success. There was one that I thought was just like a little weird. So Toronto's getting a team. Have you seen what their name
I
is?
forgot. I remember when they announced it, but I was like, that's terrible.
The Toronto Tempo.
Yeah. No, I don't like that one.
So that's what I mean. It's a very hit or miss
That's
proposition.
a summer league team name.
Totally. Man.
Come on, man. You can't have the tempo.
That's like a
out there.
That's like a live golf name.
Exactly.
Man.
By the way, Mello 3-point in the chat mentioned that Kelly Oubre in the Knicks series did shoot 39% when it counted against the Knicks in that playoff series. So
he was a gamer.
yeah.
Look,
the points were lower, but you didn't need points from him. You needed him to try to slow down Brunson,
which he did. Which he did not do.
Yes.
It was one of those things where I really respected his effort, but I can't give a guy too much
He
credit.
tried.
I can't give a guy too much
He
credit
tried.
for getting lit up by Brunson, who is fantastic.
But he does that to everybody.
But I respect Kelly Oubre. I respect how hard he plays in that. That's a big thing. So yeah, it's a big thing for him, and we'll get to where the Sixers fare in the East. But I don't think it was a mistake that Kelly was at his best when you slotted him down in the rotation, put him in that fourth or fifth spot, let him pick his spots more, let him be more opportunistic and playing with Joel. So we'll get to where the Sixers stand in the East. Obviously, we don't have a great answer because we don't know if Joel's going to be healthy.
And we don't know what Quentin Grimes is doing.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but we are going to
talk about it.
Absolutely. We'll do that. On the other side, where do the Sixers fare with the rest of the Eastern Conference? Injuries, movement, all of it. Do the Sixers, have they positioned themselves still to be in the mix in the conversation of the East? We'll talk about it when we get back on the other side. It's the PHLY Sixers Podcast. It's still Free Agency Frenzy, presented by Rothman Orthopedics.
And Devon, now let's talk about our friends at Empire Today. And guys, just like your favorite team needs a home court advantage, your home needs a home floor advantage. And Empire Today can help you get it. Empire Today, they are flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. And guys, we've all been to those big box stores, right? You wander endless aisles, and then somehow you're hauling all of these materials home, looking for an installer and coordinating everything yourself. And those big box stores, I mean, they might have somebody who help you one day, but they might be doing light bulbs or sinks or something else the next day. So it is easy to be overwhelmed in that position, and that is where Empire comes into play. They live and breathe flooring, and they will be with you every step of the way. Their flooring experts bring the showroom right to your home. You could pick the right flooring and the right colors for your space and see how it looks with your furniture while getting precise measurements taken. It is a very convenient process as far as these things go. And with Empire Today, you get clear, upfront, and all-inclusive pricing. Plus, you can schedule installation as soon as the next day. Nobody likes to wait. So guys, schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. PHLY listeners can receive a $350 off discount when using code PHLY. Yes, you heard that right. A $350 discount with the promo code PHLY. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday.com/PHLY for more details.
All right, so I walked into my garage yesterday and it felt like a sauna.
I got to tell you, Devon, this Philadelphia heat, especially coming off a cool period, no joke.
All right, so here's what I did. I got like 10 bags of ice, and I made myself an ice bath to stay cool instead of turning on the AC.
But why wouldn't you just turn on your air conditioning?
Well, you know, I was trying to be energy efficient. go green, go birds, right? And a little power dribble. Make sure I stay away from it.
Yeah, but instead of icing yourself out, you could just check out Pico's energy saving rebates. They've got deals on Energy Star cooling equipment that actually work, and they cut down your bills.
Hold on. So no more ice?
Unless it's an ice cold beer, Devon, we don't need to talk about ice.
That makes a lot of sense.
So everybody just head to pico.com/ways to save. They've got tips for everything. Heating, cooling, lighting, you name it. Don't resort to ice like my friend Devon over here.
Welcome back to the PHLY. Look at that jump in the seat. Look at that change.
Thanks to Kyle for coming in real quick and doing that with you.
Good work, man.
He's very efficient.
See, we're like a concert, man. We just go quick change, just like that, and we're back on the screen. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers Podcast on a Thursday, heading into the holiday weekend, presented by Rothman Orthopedics. And as far as Pico goes, we're back to less rain, more sun, more heat. Everybody stay cool with Pico, and do your best overall by staying cool. By the way, I saw somebody there in the chat as you brought up the naming for the basketball team here in town. And someone says, Old Dirty Yam says the best expansion team name, in my opinion, is the Utah Hockey Club. So now the Mammoth.
Which went, the Washington football team.
Football team
was the name for a minute.
I still call them that. I don't like to call them the Commanders. I just call them the football team.
The Philadelphia women's basketball team. Hopefully they don't name it that, but sometimes when they run out of time, they just settle with that and say,
you have 5 years to figure it out.
Yeah, well,
get it right.
They should get it right.
5 years to figure it out. All right, man. So after a lot of the movement, we brought up the change number one with the Milwaukee Bucks, where Damian stretched. Miles Turner leads the Eastern Conference. Game 7, Indiana Pacers. They were right there with a chance to win. He leaves, goes to Milwaukee. Indiana is dealing with the Tyrese Halliburton injury. Boston dealing with, number one, Drew Holiday and Porzingis being out. Jason Tatum out for the season. Al Horford, it looks like he may be leaving Boston, either retiring or heading west to the Lakers or the Golden State Warriors. Yeah. Then you have still remaining, though, you have Cleveland, New York, Orlando adding Desmond Bane. Atlanta having a fantastic offseason for what they've done, adding Porzingis and others. Jalen Johnson should come back healthy next season. Detroit still looking good despite the fact that they lost Tim Hardaway Jr. to Denver and Malik Beasley to his problems. Where do the Sixers, getting back their players, their 3 stars, adding Trendon Watford, VJ Edgecome, Johni Broome, where do they fit in the conversation of the Eastern Conference? We touched on this briefly yesterday, and the team that I said was still at the top was Cleveland, with New York number 2. And then you can mix in Orlando and Atlanta, Detroit, how you want to mix them in. Where do the Sixers fit into this conversation?
So the issue with putting them in this conversation right now, man, is they're incomplete as a roster. I like their talent level, and that might just be a reflection on the NBA. We talk about this all the time. Like, man, like compared to 15 years ago, the bad teams have talent now. And the Sixers were a very bad team last year, and obviously a lot of that had to do with injury. But you look, they got a lot of dudes on the roster now, and they're probably a couple teams. You look at the Washingtons, the Utahs, the Charlottes, even Utah's got Lauri Markkanen. Now they got Ace Bailey. We'll see how that goes. We'll really see how that goes with the assistant coach in the summer league, which you guys brought up yesterday.
Omar Cooper Jr.
So ridiculous, man. Like, look.
I know.
I don't need to bring it up again, but man.
That's what it is.
So the problem with the Sixers, though, is that they do not have a balanced roster right now. I think their glaring need, and somebody brought up in the chat, Chris Boucher. I do not think of him as a starting level player, but
That's
I think he would be an interesting fit. So I like what the Sixers have done this offseason. I wouldn't say because I like Yabu. Understand why, okay, they need to sign Quentin Grimes first, and they couldn't make him an offer. And I like Trendon Watford. The issue with Trendon Watford is I think he is a pretty bad fit with this roster. The best stuff he does is with the ball in his hands.
Yep.
And he has not really proven himself as a shooter or a rebounder, which is the big things that you need from the 4 position. Now, Can Trendon Watford work with the Sixers? Yeah, I think as we've seen in the NBA over the past few years, you can never have too many guys who can make plays with the ball, too many guys who can pass. But he does not solve the glaring issue that they need at that position. Now, they're completely limited in what they can offer. So getting him to that contract, he was a guy that we watched a lot of those games in the other room when they were playing the Nets, and I was like, all right, he's got a little stuff to him. You know, he's pretty good with the ball in his hand. So I am excited to see what he can do. Seems like a good guy, as Kyle has written about today, has a nice relationship with Maxey. So I'm not against that signing, but this team has too many guards. If you actually were trying to get a finals rotation, they have too many smaller guards and not enough bigger wings / fours. That's okay. They don't have to treat themselves as a finished product right now. I think after last season, you're just kind of trying to figure out, okay, who's a keeper, who's going to be healthy, how good are these young guards actually, how well do they play with each other? And that's the reason why the Sixers, I think you have to slide them down, even though you know that Joel is the biggest wild card in basketball. You don't know, because if he gets back to where he is a couple years ago, put him right up with the Knicks and the Cavs. Seriously, like they're gonna win a ton of regular season games, but they are approaching this offseason in a different way than, say, Orlando is, right? Orlando, they trade for Desmond Bane and they view that as that's the final piece, right? And the rest of our roster, it's set. We need that smaller ball handling guard that does not compromise our defense, but can also make some threes as well. And Desmond Bane's obviously not small. He's stocky and can hold up against bigger players. Daryl Morey and the Sixers, they're not viewing the offseason that way. Now, maybe Joel gets healthy. Maybe Paul George bounces back. Maybe VJ hits right away. Maybe Jared McCain continues to kill it like he did at the beginning of last season. Maybe, two of those things happen. And you have a pretty darn good team, especially if Joel is healthy. Then in the offseason, you can figure out, not at the offseason, at the trade deadline, you can figure out, all right, we actually have a chance to be pretty good. The East is wide open. We have a lot of talent here. What pieces can we move around to try and make this roster seem whole? But right now, it's an incomplete roster. It's they've over-indexed on guards, not enough big wings and forwards, and that's okay. That's okay. I think that's okay for now.
To start the season. We'll
see what it looks like at the start of the season, but certainly a decent amount of talent on this team. I would certainly put them below all of those teams.
So all those teams, top two, Cleveland and New York. Then you go Orlando, Atlanta, Detroit. That's the only three I put in front of the Sixers. So are you saying they're in that 6, 7, 8 range?
Yeah.
Somewhere around there where they're fighting for that last spot, maybe some play-in opportunity? Because I don't see anybody else. Do you see anybody else outside of Detroit, Atlanta, and Orlando that you would put in front of them? Miami, not so much.
No.
And there's
so we'll see
the
what
surprise
happens.
teams anyway were Detroit.
We'll see what happens with Boston. They're going to have Jaylen Brown and Eric White, so that's going to be
they're probably still right there with the Sixers.
That's going to be a formidable team. Although I let him know yesterday, he was laughing at it. I was like, man, that Niang Garza front court.
Yeah, man.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
That's Rich's favorite front court to start the season right now. If it holds up that way, Niang and Luke Garza in the front court.
So Riaz says LOL at Cleveland. So the thing with Cleveland is that I think you have to make them the favorite, but they have not really earned being a scary favorite.
They haven't earned a playoff favorite, but when we're talking regular season, they have proven that already.
Which is why you can talk yourself, if some of these things break right and you're a better team, you're more like the team we saw at the beginning of the season 2 years ago, you can talk yourself into, wow, nothing is scary here. And by the way, Cleveland could win 68 games next year. Would not be scared of them in the playoffs, right? Because they certainly have to prove it. The Knicks have probably earned a little more in the playoffs. We'll see what happens. What do you think of the Mike Brown hire?
I didn't think Mike Brown would get another head coaching job in the league. I thought he had enough chances personally, and I did not like how it played out in the end in Sacramento for him. But from afar and watching him, always looked at him as a good coach, that he can go out there and he can reach his players, connect with his players. One of the problems that I heard from, and this is non-family related, this is way before they even hired him, it was just more of the conversations that he was talking, where he has very long practices, 3-hour plus practices, and he also has 2-hour plus shoot arounds. So that does he cut down on that as he gets to the season? But he is a guy, I don't think he's better than Tom Thibodeau, but I think he is a good, respected coach in the NBA that has won Coach of the Year twice. So you can't get away from that. That's on his resume. It's real. He helped change the culture there in Sacramento. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for him. I'm okay with it, but I need to see it. The one thing that he will do is he will lean into the fact that he may have some depth and play some of those players where you're not overtaxing the starters.
So that part is big. I think the issue I have with Mike Brown is that classically he's got a lot of the same issues as Tibbs does, right? Where he leans more on defense. And if you are going to fire Tibbs, which again, I think the reason you fire him is more for not playing the guys in the regular season, not really viewing the regular season as a time to explore and be like, look, when we get to the playoffs and something's not working, we at least have confidence in that we've tried this in the games that matter, but don't matter as much as the playoffs, using that as well. That's the big thing. Mike Brown, his offenses have not been great. I will say a couple years ago, he did a great job in Sacramento. They were the number 3 seed in the Western Conference, almost beat Golden State in the playoffs as well. Good team. They leaned into a very fast-paced style with De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. It's an interesting hire. I'm like a little... I do think the Knicks...
I preferred other guys for the head coach.
I think the Knicks have, I think, a little bit of egg on their face, and that they seem to fire Tibbs and not really have a plan after that. And
except for calling other coaches,
except getting embarrassed, right?
Yeah.
No, he's our coach.
And we're going to give him an extension.
Yeah,
there you go.
And all that information getting leaked. But anyway, I think they're definitely number 2. They have earned it. They kind of feel like the way I used to view the Sixers a little bit, where they just have a very high floor. They have star level talent. Well, they'll probably be there in the second round. They got to break through. They got to prove it a little bit. But the Eastern Conference is also weaker than when the Sixers were there as kind of the number 3 team.
That's why we're asking the question.
Hanging out there. So
how good is Indiana? Where are they?
I think losing Turner is a huge deal to me, and I
agree.
I think
it seems like they're going to go with Isaiah Stewart, James Wiseman coming back, and
the way they lowballed
Tony Bradley.
I understand. Miles Turner, I think, is probably a polarizing player around the league because you look, he's a big guy. He doesn't do a lot with the ball in his hands where, you can't post him up. Frankly, he did not shoot the ball well in the NBA Finals, but I think that archetype of player is really valuable, especially for a team that plays up-tempo basketball like Indiana and has Tyrese Halliburton. I know they won't have him next year, and Pascal Siakam, guys who want to drive the lane, like a guy that you actually have to guard at the 3-point line and will make over 2 threes per game and shoot them at a pretty high level and also can protect the rim. I mean, how much better did Indy's defense get over the past few years? Miles Turner was a huge part of that. I think that is a valuable player. Frankly, I think that is close to a $30 million player in the modern NBA with the way their contract was. And Indiana... Again, Herb Simon just lowballing people. Man, like, you finally have a team that's good enough. I understand you had the very unfortunate injury to Halliburton, and you're not going to have him for next year. But come on, man. Miles Turner is young enough. Man. He'll be there in a couple years.
Yeah.
Man, get into the tax.
3 for 60 was the report.
That's brutal. That's just very disrespectful.
It really was.
So I think he is a good fit in Milwaukee. So I think Indiana's probably in that 6 to 10 range with the Sixers for next year. When they get Halliburton back,
I think Nembhard is going to be a good point guard.
Yeah, when they get Halliburton back, they'll be better. But and obviously Siakam gives them a certain floor, and they have a lot of depth. But a big part of their game is Tyrese Halliburton pushing the ball and Miles Turner giving everybody space, and they don't have that next year. So they're probably going to take a step back. They'll be feisty. They put them in the Boston spot, right? Like where they're not going to be. Their ceiling is probably lower than the Sixers, frankly, because at least Joel Embiid, has a chance of playing. Where those two guys who had the Achilles ruptures or tears, whatever they had. They're not going to play next year. So that's going to be different. So that's interesting. Put Milwaukee in that spot as well, too. Like, I have a lot of respect for Giannis, and I think Giannis is a little bit harder to build around than a lot of the other superstars because of his lack of shooting. He needs a 3-point threat, somebody who can protect the rim, but also space the floor from beyond the arc. I think it was pretty crazy that they stretched Damian Lillard. Like, I think they might be regretting that one in a few years. Like, oh wow, just $22 million is just sitting on our books for 5 years, and we're getting nothing from that. But as far as next year's team is concerned, I think Miles Turner is an excellent fit with Giannis. I think he might even be a better rim protector because Giannis does provide that secondary.
And I think they'll find a point guard.
Rim protection. Now, yeah, the rest of their team, there's not a lot of.
But I think they'll find someone to hold over for
Sure.
the year, to a veteran point guard to run the team.
Sure. So put them there as well. So I guess before we get to break here, I would definitely put Cleveland and New York, and that's my top
That's
tier.
the tier. Yep.
That's my
One
top tier. Next tier, Orlando, who I think could be better than both of those teams, but they got to prove it. They haven't done it yet,
100%.
right? And you got to put them low. I'm a big, you got to prove it first type of guy. I might put them in a tier all by themselves, and I might put Atlanta in a tier all by themselves, where I really like a lot of the stuff they've done. I mean, them and Houston have just loaded up with depth this offseason, and I think Atlanta's probably the big winners of the offseason
Yes,
to me
they are.
because
In the East.
because they've gotten better this year, and they also made that trade with our guy Troy Weaver and Joe Dumars, where there was reporting today.
I saw it.
Kyle sent me
saw
that.
it.
Do you know who that was from?
Let me think about it, but I did see it.
Was it from Jake and Mark? Maybe was that's who it seemed like.
It
Anyway,
might have been.
Kyle
Might have
sent
been.
me a screenshot. I was doing other stuff today, but regardless, there was a report where all the Atlanta front office was like, "Wait, you're seriously offering us this? Wait, you're not kidding? Is it unprotected pick? Okay, yeah. So I think they have a chance to be pretty good. I think Porzingis and Trae Young, good fit. Although Porzingis, a lot of questions over whether he can stay healthy. They're an even more.
But the one thing, you still have a Kongwu, so he's there.
Yeah, they have a lot of depth. I thought Nickeil Alexander-Walker was
pickup.
very nice in the playoffs. I think he's a dude that if you have a smaller playoff rotation, he can play minutes for you. He can make threes. He can guard. He can handle the ball second side. He's like a modern
He's
playoff.
proven it too.
Yeah, type of player. I thought he did some great stuff for Minnesota in this postseason. So I think they could be pretty good too, but they really got to prove it. I think they have enough question marks on like, all right, what is this exactly going to look like? I like their offseason.
And then Detroit.
Then Detroit. Maybe put Detroit
with Atlanta, and then it's the Sixers, Boston, Indiana on down fighting for those, and Miami fighting for those last few spots. So
I think that's right. One thing about Detroit that I have found amusing. So obviously the Malik Beasley thing is like crazy. It seems like
nuts.
he just.
You know what? Hold on to that because we need to talk about that.
Okay.
With the Detroit piece and Malik Beasley and all that stuff. So we'll take a final pause here as we talk about the Sixers standing in the Eastern Conference. We'll get Rich's thoughts on Yabusele, of course, Grimes, and he's talked about Watford, so we got that. We'll get your thoughts on that. Some more stuff around the league, and we'll wrap things up as we head into the holiday weekend, a long holiday weekend. You love when it falls on a Friday, man. You love it. We'll do that when we get back right here on the PHLY Sixers Free Agency Frenzy Show presented by Rothman Orthopedics. And folks, I got to tell you about the good people from CherryHillJeep.com. If you're looking for a Jeep or a Ram truck, there's only one dealership that's in South Jersey who has been the market leader since 1967, and that's my friends at CherryHillJeep.com. And they have you covered with the best selection, but more importantly, the best prices. And they're celebrating all month long and celebrating the holiday. All you have to do is slide into a Jeep Grand Cherokee this month. Not only is it the most awarded SUV ever, it was also named MotorWeek's best midsize utility vehicle for the past 2 years in a row. That's in addition to being named a 2024 IIHS top safety pick. Or pull away with the most luxurious and functional pickup truck that's out there on the market today. That's the 2025 Ram 1500, which just received the most coveted award in pickup truck industry, the 2025 Motor Trend Truck of the Year. Stop in today, tell them PHLY sent you, and receive an additional $1,000 for your trade-in. Plus, I got to tell you, as always, I don't know why people buy I know why people buy Jeeps and Rams. They get them elsewhere, and I simply don't know why. Drive home in your new Jeep or Ram truck today, just minutes away from all bridges, or available online at 24/7 at CherryHillJeep.com. Also, let's pivot on over to the other good people from Parks Casino. You can take your new Jeep and drive to Parks Casino. That's correct. It's easy. Very easy. You get there simply by jumping on the PA Turnpike and the exit at Street Road, and bang, you are right there to check in with the good folks at Parks Casino. Whether your team wins or not, there's always another way to win, and that is also on the Parks Online Casino app. Check out the brand new casino games like Huff and More Puff and Fire Blaze Sky Queen at Bet Parks exclusive, the only app I ever use to play all my favorite casino games. You can do so some downtime with all your family and friends. You know, go in the corner, you cool off, get right there on your app with those casino games right in the palm of your hand. Play blackjack, roulette, craps, poker, baccarat, and hot online slots like Cash Eruption, 88 Fortunes, and Cleopatra online slots. Play hot online slots based on your favorite streaming shows, Walking Dead, Squid Game, Breaking Bad, and Peaky Blinders, all available to you. New users, you get up to $1,000 in casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. Go to betparks.com and download the app right now and enjoy all the action and excitement from the casino at your fingertips. You must be 21 and in PA, New Jersey, Maryland, or Michigan for Bet Parks. You love to play, you play to win, you Bet Parks. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers Podcast here. Free Agency Frenzy still in play, presented by Rothman Orthopedics, our partners for the entire summer as we cover the Philadelphia 76ers. The Detroit piece, what were you getting at with Detroit? The Malik Beasley piece of it all, but Detroit in general, what were you saying?
So they sign and trade and pay Duncan Robinson a pretty big contract. I mean,
3 for 45, I think it was.
Yeah, and I don't think the second year is fully guaranteed. I think the third year is non-guaranteed, but it was kind of funny that Duncan Robinson was on a bad contract for Miami. They regretted that immediately. Again, we were
kept trying to move him for years.
Well, we were talking about the old free agency days. Those were the years that
he got
I think
paid.
I think it was 5 for 90, which was not what 5 for 90 is now. It was even more than that with the rising cap and everything. So they do that. I do think Detroit. We've talked about how Quentin Grimes is kind of screwed here. He can either take the qualifying offer or he's really got to do this on the Sixers' terms. They really don't have to go much higher than the mid-level exception. So we're talking 4 for. I kind of like 4 for 68. I think give him $8 million.
I wouldn't be mad at 70 if they went to 70. All right.
So what's that? That's
nice number.
$12-13 million more over the contract. And honestly, if Quentin Grimes wants a 3-year deal too, okay, fine. If that makes it better. So yeah, he's in a rough spot. I do think we've talked about how the Nets could have been the boogeyman, where they said, you know what, we're gonna take MPJ in. We are gonna use our cap space to just build up our asset pool and take unwanted money from other teams and also trade some of their contributors now, which I think is fine. I think that's what the Sixers did at the beginning of the Sam Hinkie era. But Detroit, they have been thrown a curveball here with this whole Malik Beasley thing. Now, maybe they knew more than we did about it, but obviously, a guy who had an unbelievable season last year. The amount of threes he hit was
playoff
crazy.
Run.
And, he's a limited player, but man, in terms of that, shoot first,
he was second in the league behind Anthony Edwards. They were battling on the last day for the crown.
Which is crazy.
Shooting percentage.
Which is crazy.
Makes. I'm sorry.
His volume and percentage was crazy. So replacing him is hard. I think they could have been a team that they could have moved around a few pieces and opened up enough cap space. They were in that range with San Antonio where they probably weren't going to be able to afford Grimes, but they could, if they really wanted him and they really wanted to make an offer sheet to him, they could have moved a few pieces around.
And they were also linked a little bit to Alexander Walker.
Yeah.
4 for 62.
Well, they definitely need shooting because Cade is very good as a shooter. He's also very good at setting up a lot of their guys. They don't have great shooting on that team outside of Beasley, and you lose him. I think Grimes would have been a perfect fit there. The issue was he played there, and it did not go very well by all accounts. So I found that part very funny where I think the Sixers lucked out a little bit by Quentin Grimes' whole career and his little stint there, which did not go that well because I think he would be a perfect fit, frankly, for that team, in part because he also defends and, he offers I don't think he strays too far from their defense first mentality. Obviously, he can play defense as well. So that was the thing that made me laugh a little bit about them. But I think they're in a tier ahead of the Sixers. Again, they have
right there
more.
with the Hawks.
They have more certainty than the Sixers. But every time I listen to one of these national shows and these podcasts, I'm like, you could say the Sixers. Like
nobody wants to jump out there again.
You don't want to mention them, but you probably should. And I respect the commentators that are like, look, do I think this team is actually going to be in like the top 3 at the end of the year? They say, I can't bet on that with Joel Embiid and his health, but you got to mention it. I'm just saying. Mention it.
Mention it.
That's all.
All right. Last one, the Yabusele part. I know you touched on it just briefly. You liked him, went to New York. Your thoughts?
It's a bummer. It's more of a bummer because of the team that he went to. I know, a little different for you. But the team that he went to, I just wish he went to somebody who I didn't care about, where it's just like, I don't want you to succeed. Josh Sweat on the Eagles. Perfect. Go play in Arizona. I could care less about that team.
San Antonio, Denver, have at it.
Absolutely. Yabu, go get paid somewhere else. Look, am I mad at Yabu? No, because I'm sure that was the best offer he had. I'm sure he's looking at that. I believe the Knicks gave him a player option on the second year as well. So I think he's probably looking at it as, okay, like I can actually play for this team. I'm sure he probably asked, like, who's the new coach going to be? Is Mike Brown? Is he going to play his bench guys? I'm pretty good for a bench guy. I'm better than what they had for sure. So good for him. Decent fit there. Now, the thing I will say, as the season went on, and I'm going to echo Kyle's comments a little bit here, I grew a little less enchanted with Yabu's game. Now, I loved him as a player. I loved how hard he played. My issue with him is I don't think he has a position to defend. I think as a stretch 5 on the offensive end, he was fantastic. And his shooting 38% last year on way more volume that he showed. Is that real? I don't know, but you could at least sell me on it being real because, he went back to Europe, he worked on his shot, and he came back and he looked confident taking those shots.
Are you saying this for the 4 or the 5? Positionally, 4 or 5?
5. 5 in particular. He needs a little bit more time to wind up.
So let me ask you this, though. Because he's going to that team, if they're going to play him at the 5, let's say hypothetically they do put him out there at the 5, you have to have other defenders out there with him. So if you do have him out there with OG, Kale, Josh Hart, does that make it better for him?
If it's going to work, it does. And I think you're right. I think that's absolutely the right team because at the 5 defensively, you're kind of drawing dead with him. And your hope is that we can just outscore people. The best way to mitigate his issues at the 5 is to be more fundamentally sound on the perimeter, have better ball pressure, and just not get beat. You look at the Knicks, I think there's a chance that could work there. Like, I think if you're Yabu, you're looking at that and saying, okay, that's a decent fit.
And you could also have him at the 5 where Towns is the 4. Overall, you can have them next to each other on the floor where he's playing, maybe he's not defending the 5 because
I think offensively, offensively can work together.
Yeah,
defensively,
yeah.
That's not great.
No, it's not. But that's why you need those wings out there with him.
That's not great, and I think playing him and Towns at the same time is interesting. So my point is for the Sixers, I don't think it's like a massive loss. I love Yabu. I really wish we could have seen him play with Joel,
and that's the problem.
That's the issue.
That's the problem.
I don't know if it would have worked because I think his shooting. I'm not sure it plays quite as well at the 4 because at the 4 you got to be able to catch and shoot a little bit quicker. And I felt like Yabu was so good in those pick and pop situations. Like he was, drawing those bigger centers out, taking those shots. Sometimes he would do those long pump fakes. Guy runs out too far, he's going to dunk on you. Anyway, so I really enjoyed the Yabu experience. I understand why the Sixers prioritize Grimes a little bit more. Is it a bummer that he's playing with the Knicks? Yeah. Do I know it's like a huge, massive loss for the Sixers? I don't know that. Obviously, it would have been nice to bring him back, though, especially on that contract, especially at your one major position of need.
Yeah. So tough one to go to a rival, but he could not wait for Quentin Grimes.
No.
Because the money would have dried up. The San Antonio thing had already happened with Lou Cornett. Denver had already made their move with Brooklyn. So you weren't quite sure where things were going to go and how they were going to pivot. So he had to make sure that he took advantage. After a guy who has not been in the league for years comes here to take that minimum to join the Sixers last year, doesn't work out where he gets to play on a playoff team. Instead, he gets a role, but he did enough to get himself a decent contract, and he had to strike right now in order to do so. So I don't blame him at all for doing so for his own personal career, what he had to do.
I'm very curious. Here's a lineup. If Yabu functions well in this lineup, then I think he's really going to get paid next offseason when there's more money. Because we talked about it all year. We were like, man, he's going to get paid a lot of money. And you look at the contract, $6 million per year, and it's a player option that's less than I thought he was going to get initially. But I don't think we were quite cognizant of how limited cap space was around the league. Here's the lineup.
Okay.
Jalen Brunson, Mikal, OG, Mitch Robinson, and then Yabu at the 4. If he works in that lineup, I think he's going to get paid.
That's why. So when you said when I asked you about the 4 or the 5, and you said it was the 5, that's why I asked.
He's got to prove he's a 4 offensively.
He would get clean. He is clean in that lineup because you already have Mitchell Robinson there. The other 2 wings, Brunson is Brunson, but if he can hold up with those other 3 out there on the floor, he's in a pretty good spot.
So
overall,
look, is it a bummer that he's leaving? Yeah, but Kyle and Derek, I think, laid it out pretty well. Look, the Sixers, you're going to be hard capped. By the way, the Knicks, they literally can't make another move now. Too, they can sign maybe one minimum guy, and that's it. So they didn't want to be hard capped, and even the Sixers have to deal a little bit with the restrictive nature of the new CBA.
Last final Sixer question, because they can also right now, what are they on? 13 players right now. And if Kyle
13.
Lowry comes back, Quentin Grimes number 1 would make it 14. But
please, I love Kyle Lowry. No, I can't bring him and Gordon back. You can't do it. You had to bring Gordon back because you gave him the option. Kyle.
Is there any other player outside of Boucher that you would have interest in? One of the other names that I brought up was Precious Achiuwa.
Okay.
He's seemingly out, at least with New York, because of the Yabusele move. Could he be of interest to you? Not a shooter like Boucher, but he does other stuff. He helps rebound on the glass.
A little bit of a 4-5.
A little bit 4-5 there. Maybe interest with him. We brought up some other names like Marvin Bagley. We brought up him as a minimum guy.
No, thanks.
Anybody else, just in general?
No, I think those are some pretty good names. I mean, it would be nice. Boucher, again, I don't know. The Sixers are pretty limited in their spending here, and he's an older player too. I think
he is. I don't think people realize.
He came into the league pretty old.
Yeah,
and he is 32 years old now. Yeah. So
and Precious is.
He's probably going to take the most money.
Precious.
No.
Boucher. Maybe.
But man, I think he would be a good fit here. I do wonder, did Nick Nurse and him have a little friction in Toronto?
But a few years apart, that can kind of.
I mean, look, he
especially when you need a job.
He's a very weird type of player, but in terms of the 3-point shooting and some of the rim protection, I think you could tell him hey man, I don't think a team in the league would let you start except for us, and we have this glaring need, and you would fit well, so he would be a good fit. Yeah, I think finding somebody else at the 4 position.
Trey Lyles was another name there.
Sure. Finding somebody at the 4 position who can shoot a little bit would be a nice get for them, in addition to bringing Grimes back. And I think that's their offseason. And you spend the first few months of the year just letting it play out, right? You mix and match the smaller guards, see who's popping, who's playing well. You obviously see how the big fella's playing, how the big fella's moving, and you're a little bit in experimental mode, kind of taking stock of your team. I do think because you had such a bad year last year, it's almost like the pressure's off a little bit, where people are writing you off. People are not expecting a ton from this team. So you can kind of take a little bit of the longer view in looking at this team. And I hope that's how it works. Now, maybe they do that, and maybe it turns out where it's we're better than we thought. We're actually a much better team. We have much better health luck so far this year, and that'd be great. I'm sure we're both hoping for that, so we can call some W's and have a chat that's a little bit happier after the games than last year. But yeah, I think that's where they're at right now. Another 4 with some size who can shoot. I know that they are limited options. I know you're not going to get an automatic starter, even an automatic rotation player at the salary slots that they're looking at. But the good thing is that they can offer playing time and opportunity to these guys.
Yeah, and those are some interesting names real fast. Hair _Daywan on the chat says Mo Wagner is available. He's 6'11". The only problem with Mo Wagner is he tore his ACL in December. While it was relatively early, you typically want those players on the second year after they come back from a major injury like the ACL or the Achilles, just to get themselves back into play. So I don't know if you can get him on the minimum. Maybe you could.
I think he's going back to Orlando.
I think so too, and I think he would accept less to do so. Quick overtime here for us, folks. AllPHLY.com on this Thursday. Head on over to AllPHLY.com. On the TV side, we thank you so much. Have a great holiday weekend. Be safe. Stay with us at AllPHLY.com. So, yeah, those are the names. One more, Rich, and then we'll get to everything else. Ben Simmons?
Man, what a story that would be. I will say.
I saw his name linked to the Knicks, that they were doing their research on him.
People, I have got a kick out of the I'm coming home montages of Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
I think people are kind of, some people actually seem like they're all in on the idea. I feel like some of those have been made in jest.
Because he said some good things about them in his final year in Brooklyn and heading to the Clippers. He said I still have love for Philadelphia, all that. No thanks.
This is too much baggage.
It's
man.
too much.
He
can't play anymore.
He can't play anymore.
Can't play.
Especially too because he's a backup center now. Like he is strictly a backup center.
He was awful with the Clippers.
You can't play him at the 4.
Can't. Nah.
I don't think you can play him at the 5 either. But
if
he's gonna exist, it's gonna be as Paul Reed light.
I prefer Paul Reed over that. So
the league prefers Paul Reed. He got
a nice little contract to stay in Detroit. Good for him. Yeah, played on the non-guaranteed last year, and he made it work. He showed some good things in the postseason. Did Paul Reed?
He did.
All right, man. I know I had a few other things to throw at you, but just because of time, we won't have really an opportunity to get to those. But as we go into the holiday weekend, can I ask you some food questions?
Sure.
Do you have some favorites when it comes to summer cookouts and some overrated foods? Overrated.
Oh, wow. So you put me on the spot here.
All right, so I'll start off with one. I'll give you one. That's a common one that I do not like and I think is overrated. It's overrated because I don't like it. Any kind of salad outside of regular garden salad. I don't like pasta salad. I don't like potato salad.
Completely agree. I
don't like any of those.
I was about to say that. Underrated one for me because let's move away from the burgers and the dogs and stuff like that.
And chicken.
Things that I like. Baked beans.
I like baked beans. Yeah, like baked beans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big one. What else you got that you like?
That is things that you just simply like.
Yeah.
I like the shish kebab that they. Yeah. Right. We get the norm. Of course, that is a meat or beef that whatever, but the shish kebab is pretty good overall. The rib is a staple, right? You're good with that one. And I'm trying to think if there anything else. I would say those are the ones that I do like.
Lot of potato salad and macaroni salad fans in the chat.
No, thank you guys.
Winona said stuffed trout on the grill. I don't think I've ever had that. That sounds delicious, though. I would enjoy that.
Yeah, okay. Bree, how about you?
Overrated or?
Both.
Either.
So I'm with you. I hate the macaroni salad that's got like all that mayo and stuff in it. But I love pasta salad, like
okay,
like actual like pasta salad.
I'm not knocking anybody. It's just not my thing.
Yeah, no, I don't like the gross like mayo pasta salad. I like pasta salad like Italian dressing, mozzarella, pepperoni, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'll go macaroni. Also, I don't like corn on the cob. So hot take. Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm just for me.
I think that's good. The issue with corn on the cob is not even the corn. It's just very messy. It gets stuck in between your teeth. It
takes up the whole plate.
It's an annoying. Yeah,
it takes up the whole.
I can't put other stuff.
But that's why you cut it into halves.
So you get 2 plates.
Yeah, they cut the smaller one.
Well, yeah, if you can do that. Yeah, if you do that, it's easier. Yeah, it does. It does. Getting a nice smaller one. That was a big thing I used to do. I used to when I worked at Acme, I had a summer job. I used to shuck the corn. That was a big thing.
Nice.
That was also very annoying to do. Or whatever. But I don't mind the corn on the cob. It's just it's messy. It takes up too much. I'm trying to think of other things that I think are okay. What do you think of watermelon?
Yeah. I'm big on the fruit. So the watermelon is good. Any of the other melon fruits, grapes and stuff. Yeah.
I would say in terms of the stuff that actually gets grilled, obviously. I'm pretty easy with that stuff. Burgers, hot dogs are good. You mentioned the ribs. If somebody does a good grilled chicken too,
that's why I said chicken.
I'm very into that. Yeah,
I'm good on the chicken. I make a good chicken.
You good at that?
I make a good chicken on the grill. Yes.
I'm jealous, man. I got a few friends who love cooking on the grill. I used to live with a couple of them too, and they would, probably once a month in the summer, they would just
easy.
spend the night and
Easy.
we'd get stuff. So I don't have that ability. I'm not a very good cook.
I got you. You guys, you're invited. It's
Absolutely.
not even a problem. You two are invited. Anytime you just come on over, we can strike up the grill. All of you, the whole team is invited for the food, and that is not a problem at all. So yes, everybody, first we want to say, make sure, as Kyle said yesterday, have a great 4th of July weekend. Be safe out there. Cook all the food. If you have some leftovers, bring us some on Monday. We like a nice leftover plate. We'll enjoy that. Bring that in on Monday. We could all sit together and have some food before the show or after the show. Also, just be safe and stay cool out there, because we know it's going to be a hot time out there as far as the weather goes. So make sure you do that. Make sure you, once again, today and tomorrow, the last 2 days for your Make Your Move intro offer for $36. Become a diehard member, allphly.com. Please go sign up. We always tell you, and we always tell you when it's the regular price too, but I always want you to take advantage. We have these $36 intro offers. So please go do that. Also, go check out our Twitter account at PHLY_Sixers. There's some video up there. Dembona spoke, so you want to see what he had to say. And we're going to be in Vegas next week, and you want to make sure that you're following the team account so you can see all the videos, not only from our team account, but from our personal accounts as well, while we're out there in Las Vegas later on next week. So let's get ready to sign off for the week. World famous.
Let's do it.
It's the roll call. Let's get to it. We got to say thank you to William in the chat. William Boucher talking about some food on the grill. Look at that. Absolutely. We got Will. What up, Rick? Go get him. Rick Morse in the chat. Money Mar. Terran's Knights. SB Cole. Hey, Mom. Let's see Mom in there. Yep, absolutely. Iris Saxman in there. Theo in the chat as well. I saw Winona. Hey, Nona. Valhos in there. Hedfa also in the chat. Hey, Aaron. What up, Aaron? The Purple Heart was also in the chat as well. See Jess in there. Ray Philly Fly in the chat. What up, Ray? Haven't seen Ray, so that's a good one. Ray Philly Fly. What up, Ray? We also have INS. Hinky is in the chat. He would have loved an opportunity like this in the offseason to put the team together. What up, Hinky? We also have mixed in here Sean Ford, Marcus Blackstock. What up, Mark? We have in there as well Phi Chi, Joaquin from Cherry Hill. What up, Joaquin? We also have, let me see, because I have to go further up here. Philly 007. Some more. I'm seeing a lot of repeats here in the chat. It's been a lively chat. Jay of the Jungle. Old Dirty Yams. What up? JS. Also in there. You got some more that I might have missed. Mellow, my man. Mellow 3 Point. And I'm seeing a lot of repeats. So with that, a lot of good people checking in. Derek Botner in the chat. Kyle Newbeck in the chat. Good to see all of you in there. Vince Alamatino, Smy Guy, and Riaz. We thank you as always. We thank you all week for our free agency frenzy. Love being you. What up, Gene? Gene Ross in there. We thank you for joining us here for this week. It's been a busy week. It's been a fun week. Smy Guy, thank you again. We Bootszilla Boots.
What up, Boots?
Got to get that one in there. We have to end the week on that one. Densley Richard as well. Stay safe out there, everybody. Make sure you go like and subscribe to this show. Make sure you like and subscribe to the chat. I saw that we had just reached for the team account, for the show account, 45.9. We need to get to 46 subscribers. What are we doing, folks? Tell your people. Tell a friend and tell another friend. Tell everybody to make sure you like and subscribe to the show. When you do that, the bell icon, you hit that, and you'll get the alert. That sounds like that, and you'll know it's showtime. While we're off tomorrow, we do have a special show that's going to drop tomorrow, about a quick 8-10 minute show that we put together for everybody on the off day, that while you're with everybody at the cookout.
Put it on the big screen.
That you didn't invite us to, that I feel hurt. I feel pain because of that. Make sure you invite us the next time, and then put us on the big screen like Rich said. And for the others saying, damn, I didn't know that's where Rich or Derek or Kyle or Devon, and I had no idea about Bree, that's where they are. Subscribe to the show. Make sure you do so on YouTube, and we'll be with you every time it is showtime at 3 p.m. We'll be back on Monday at 3 p.m. to start off a new week. We'll hang out with you then, and we'll kind of talk about what's going on. Maybe Quentin Grimes has already decided to come back to the Sixers at that point.
That would be good.
I would hope
Good
so.
for content.
And we can talk about Ace Bailey and VJ Edgecome in their first game on Saturday night.
Oh, yeah. We got some Summer League.
We got action. We got action. So like and subscribe. Hit the like button. Make sure you get in there. And as always, we got to say thank you, a special thank you to Bree for the great job all week and today as well. Everybody be safe, be careful. You know we love you, so be safe, be careful. We'll talk to you on Monday. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you right here at 3 p.m. on Monday on the PHLY Sixers Podcast presented by Rothman Orthopedics.
See you guys.
We all silly like the mayor.